Well, hello there for all of you who have had the strength to hang in there for this this seventh week. And what I want to do is kind of summarize the last 6 weeks. We'll look at the major questions that were raised in the beginning around which all this is built. We'll look at the importance of the 3 A's, and then I want to spend particular time with challenges for you. Now that you've done all this, what do I do now? And I'm going to put that in the form of challenges, and then what do you do about them? And that will be the end of our time together. But let's look at the questions that we started out with. You know, the big overriding 3 questions are, well, how did we get to this earth? How did we get here? Now that we're here, what are we to do? And when we die, where are we going, if any place? And people all think about that, you know. They may not devote their life thinking about it, but that's always in their minds. And it's part of the reason you never talk politics and religion without having an argument. But the fact is that we're really concerned with the second one. Okay, we're here. What do we do about it? How do we live? And we do know this, that we are creatures who were created or became creatures who have a need for community. So this led to then 3 more questions. And these questions were, if you may remember, how do we want, need, and have community? In other words, how would we really like it? Why do we need it? And gee whiz, this is what we have for community right now. You may be thinking, I'm very happy with what I have. I love my community. I don't want it to change. You'd be kind of, you like tradition. You like the way things are. And so you're going to be concerned if things come along that are going to disrupt that. I'll give you an example. Personal. I'm older. I have grandchildren and a great-grandchild. It seems in our country is youth-oriented. And that's fine, because the youth are what we should be pouring our effort in, because they're going to be future generations, make future decisions, and we always want our kids, many do, and not everybody, I'm sure, but many want their children to have a better life than they did. And so, and community is essential for that happening. And so we want to have it that way. And so if technology is going to come along that disrupts that or changes it in what I view as a negative sense, I'm going to be upset. And there's going to be more than me that's upset, because we're not all that different as humans. And there's going to be what I call social stress. And so the question about community is very important. Well, but on the other hand, why do we want, need, and have technology? Well, we kind of looked at that and we said, well, that's, and all you have to do is have your eyeballs open, and that has to do with the fact that strong economic development force is technology. Boy, if we get the new technology out there and everybody wants it, like I mentioned, there's people sitting outside the Apple office in Chicago, and they got to have that stuff. Right now, that tells you something. Also, sometimes we're just going about our business and technology changes. Take telephones, for example. from the fact that at one time you picked up the phone and you said, somebody at the other end said, number please, and you gave them the number, or you'd say, this is a person-to-person call, and they'd make sure it was before you had to pay for it, to a smartphone now, which has GPS capabilities. You can get on the internet. You can do all kinds of things. And you have to have some training to really properly use it. And your phone bills, of course, because you're getting a lot more information, have increased. So we want technology. Also, there's technology helps us to live a better life. People are living longer. Medical profession is able to cure diseases better. We can live in a more comfortable state. We aren't washing our clothes in a stream. I was in a small village in the Philippines, and it turned out the ladies were down below a little tiny power plant that was operated by one guy who, it was a little hydroelectric thing, and they were all down there washing their clothes at the outflow from this turbine, and to where you have a washer and a dryer, and you put the clothes in, turn on the switch with the soap, and walk away, do something else. And I contrast that with helping my grandma do her laundry, where she had wash tubs and all that. So technology helps us to be able to expand what we can do. Think back of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. And it helps us live a better life. And, with tissue engineering today, they're beginning to take let's say like a part of your liver, if your liver was bad, and reproduce another liver, a new one, with a sample of your tissue, which then can be put in you as a new spare part, you might say, and that won't be rejected by your body because the DNA and all that's in tune with what you already have. So we want technology because it helps us to have a more comfortable, less energetic life, you might say. It gives us a more disease-free life, and it helps the economy. So these are, and from a national defense standpoint, it also helps us to have a stronger military, among other things. So there are various reasons why. And then the third question is, why do we need community? Why do we need technology? And then the other one was, why do we want, need, and have ethics? Well, that has something to do with setting up rules so that our society, our community functions in a fashion that I can go about my life. I can climb up Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, you might say, to self-effectuation or to higher levels of satisfaction and pleasure, and not be disrupted by loss of job, invading tribes, disease, whatever, weather changes. There's all kinds of things that say, well, we need ethics to make sure that we function in a proper way, because they help define a virtuous life. But anyway, those are the questions that we dealt with. Why do we want, need, and have technology? Why do we want, need, and have culture? Why do we, or community? Why do we want, need, and have ethics? And of course, culture and ethics and technology. That all makes up culture, doesn't it? Community, ethics, technology makes up culture. And that all relates back to this issue, well, now that we're here, what are we going to do? So, to me, when I was putting all this together, those 6 questions kind of laid the groundwork for creating the structure that these 6 weeks have had. Well, next time we get together, we'll spend a few minutes talking about the importance of the 3 A's, and then probably the part that I'm most concerned with, that you walk away with, are the challenges for you as you get into the future now after this time together, because these are some of the same challenges I'm working on. And if we're going to effectuate what we've learned here, then it's important that we look at these at least and do something. So that's all for now. Bye for now. We'll see you in a few minutes.